Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you? How is everything? Good afternoon. So actually, I'm here in school, and until everyone comes in, I want to open up your camera. I want to do a few announcements when everyone is in. And I've been grading your papers. They're great. Good job. And good luck for everyone. Okay. As for, yes, so, okay, everyone is coming. Let me just see. Admitting, let's admit. Okay. So, yes. Okay. Today we are going to talk about the winter packet, just a few points which are important. And then afterwards we will move on to Skinner and behavior therapy. Does anyone remember what we talked about in the winter packet? What was last time? Okay, does anyone remember? I think we talked about last time, okay, great. So, okay, so last time we talked about in the winter packet, we talked about, did we talk about Alfred Adler? Yes. Let's just open it up. Okay, okay. Okay, I want you to open up the camera. Differential and descriptive statistics. What's the difference? Okay.
Descriptive, it describes the data, and the inferential, it infers or it makes like predictions about the data.
Okay, excellent job. Yes. Good job. Who said that?
Asset.
Aster. Excellent, Aster. Okay, where are you? Why don't you open up the camera? Yes?
I have it open, but I don't know why it shows a black screen.
Okay, great. Thank you for telling me. Okay, why don't you try to fix it up so that we can see you? Yes?
I'll see you. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, let me start with the winter packet. For some reason, it's not opening. So let us just start with the announcements, okay, until everyone comes in. And the number one announcement is that you asked me for the camera. You don't have to have the camera on for you to be present. So you can be present and the camera is not on. However, for the participation grade and your behavior grade in the class, it's much because it's more to improve your grade. Also,
Good morning, Miss Mai.
good morning, Azadine. How are you? How is everything?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm great. And
Good morning, Miss.
good morning. How are you? Who's this?
Ahmed Mu'taz.
Ahmed Mu'taz. Okay, great. Some of you guys, like Azizin and others, I saw you in the morning. Others today. Right now, I'm seeing you, so that's great. Okay.
لا Miss I attended the session النهارده.
You are in political science. I see. Yes. So right now, what we will do is we will talk about Skinner. Okay. What did Skinner talk about? Who remembers? Until I get the video. What did Skinner talk about? Is he the one who talked about classical conditioning or operative conditioning? Skinner, did he talk about operative conditioning or classical conditioning? Who remembers? He talked about operative conditioning, right? Yes, rewards and punishments. Okay, so Pavlov is the one that talked about classical conditioning. And who was the one that did an experiment to test both? What's his name? Does anyone remember?
Bandura.
Bandura, excellent job. Is this Asr?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes, good job. Okay, it is Bandura. Okay, so Bandura, in his observation experiment, he tested both the operant and the classical. Okay? Who remembers, was it a experiment of cause and effect, or was it more of a correlational experiment where it's more based on observation and just see if there's a relationship? Who remembers? Let's see. Okay. Who remembers if it was observational experiment or an actual experiment of cause and effect? So observational, only seeing relationship, more of a correlational study, or was it more of cause and effect?
Cause and effect.
No, it was more of correlational, right? Only the relationship. Okay, cause and effect means that it's not observational, it's more of he controls it, right? So he needed to control it to see the independent and dependent variable, okay? And to see the cause and effect, right? Okay, so make sure you know these points. Okay, remember them very well so that when we go into behavior therapy, it will kind of make sense for you, the differences between the experiments and the theories. Okay, it's just a recap for you to see that. Yes. So everyone sees the video? Yes. Okay, so this is a refresh for operant conditioning, who is by Skinner. Okay, about rewards and punishment. Okay, great. So let's start the video.
Operant conditioning is based on the idea that we can increase or decrease a certain behavior by adding a consequence. For example, if a dog poops on a carpet, we can either provide reinforcement so the dog does it again, or punishment so the dog stops. Both reinforcement and punishment can either be positive or negative, which means we have 4 possible ways to teach this dog a lesson. We can draw the 4 options in a table. If reinforcement is positive,
ميس النت عندك it's lagging. انا مش عارف اشوف الفيديو.
reinforcement is negative,
Okay, so can you hear me right now? The
I
interconnection
can
is
hear you,
kind of
but
unstable.
the picture of the video is lagging.
Okay, can you hear the video? Can everyone hear the video? Can you hear it, or is it also not clear? Yes? Okay, let's try it again. If you don't, tell me. Okay, let's try it.
we still want to increase the desired behavior, this time by removing something unpleasant, like the leash. If punishment is positive, we add an unpleasant response to decrease behavior. When punishment is negative, we also want to decrease behavior, now by removing something pleasant, like the comfy carpet. If we stop any sort of manipulation, the conditioned behavior will eventually disappear again. This is called extinction. Operant conditioning was first studied by Edward L. Thorndike and later made famous by the work of B.F. Skinner. Skinner believed.
Okay, so actually operant conditioning was made by Thorndike, but it was later famous by the work of B.F. Skinner because he did really famous experiments for operant conditioning and other behavior theories, okay? If you take behavior therapy, if you take learning theories in the future in psychology or in college, for sure you'll talk about Skinner. Skinner is the most famous one who did experiments all about behavior therapy, different theories, especially about operant conditioning. Okay, so this is really important to know. Okay.
That organisms are doing what they do naturally until they accidentally encounter a stimulus that creates conditioning, which results in a change in behavior. To test this, he placed a rat inside an operant conditioning chamber, which later became known as the Skinner box. Among other things, inside the box was a lever that would release food when pressed. Conditioning happens in a three-term contingency, today known as the ABCs of behavior.
Okay, these are the ABCs of behavior, these three-term contingencies, okay? So make sure you know them because it's the basis of behavior in psychology today from the work of Skinner.
A stands for antecedent. The rat accidentally hits the lever that triggers the release of food. B stands for behavior,
So you have antecedent, okay? The next one is behavior.
and refers to the response. The rat keeps pressing the lever. C stands for consequence. Food keeps coming out. The stress
And the third one is consequence, okay? So you have A, antecedent. It's when the mouse presses the lever so that the food comes down. Okay, so I want you to imagine the box and the mouse is inside. And so the mouse, when it wants to eat food, what does it does? What does it do? You have the small box where it has the food, right? So the mouse presses the small box and then it comes out the food, okay? The activity of pressing the lever, right? It's like a kind of small button where it gets the food down is called antecedent. Okay, so the mouse presses the small box of food, and then the food goes down. Okay, then the next is behavior, and behavior is basically the actual food going down. Okay, and then the consequence is what? As you can see in the picture, what is the consequence? See, what will be the consequence? Okay, anyone think about what would be the consequence? So what is the mouse doing here?
The food keeps going and he keeps eating.
Excellent job. So eating, right? So after the food goes down, the mouse eats the food. That's the consequence. Okay, so the antecedent is the actual pressing on the lever, the food goes down. Then the behavior is basically when the actual behavior is basically when he presses the lever, the mouse sees the food going down. Okay, then the consequence is that he actually eats the food. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is the ABCs of behavior. Okay.
strength of the response to the conditioning depends on the schedule of reinforcement. If there is always food after pressing, the rat behaves predictably. If the food is released randomly, the rat behaves erratically like an addict.
Okay, this is a really important point. So here for the ABCs of behavior, you have the A, antecedent. So the mouse comes in and presses the lever, okay? The lever is the small, the small button where he puts it down. And then when he does that, the food goes down, okay? So the behavior afterwards is that the mouse sees the food going down. The consequence of that behavior is that he eats the food, okay? So here you have the schedule. The schedule is in the ABC of behavior if the actual food goes down, right? So if the actual behavior happens, so for example, he did the antecedent, the mouse, right? Okay, and he pressed the lever. If the food goes down, he'll eat it, right? And so obviously every time that happens, right? If the antecedent makes the behavior of the food going down, okay, and the consequence is that he eats it, that means every time this will happen, that means that he'll always press the lever, okay, and always expect the food will go down, right? What if this always doesn't happen? So maybe once it
مس طب
happens,
ممكن حضرتك تقولي آخر واحدة تاني عشان بس النت كان قطع عندي.
okay, so if every time the mouse, the antecedent, which is he presses the lever, and the behavior of him seeing the food going down, okay, and then the consequence he eats the food, the rat, if for example, every time this happens, that means that obviously every time the mouse presses the lever, the antecedent, and the behavior happens, okay, and the consequence of eating that means that the mouse will always expect that the food will go down if he presses the lever, right? Okay, so it's common sense, right? So for example, the mouse comes in, he presses the button, the food goes down, he eats. So right away, every time he'll do that. Okay, and so obviously he won't ever think about the food will not go down and anything else because every time this happens, okay? So automatically, it's a given for the mouse. What if that's not the case? So maybe once he presses the lever, the food goes down. 5 times he presses the lever, the food does not go down. So the behavior changes here. He does not see food. Okay, so obviously the consequence will change, which means he will not eat because there's no food, right? 5 times. And then the last 2 times, the food does go down. How do you think the mouse will change? Will be a given for the mouse that the food will go down? So, it will be normal, or would that change with the mouse? What do you think? I want to think about it because that's how Skinner is. So what do you think? Any ideas of how the mouse will change, his behavior and consequence? How would it change? Obviously it will change, right? Because in the sense, the number one, not necessarily after 5 times, he doesn't see any food and and there's no eating, okay? So in the next 2 times of him pressing the lever, okay, obviously you'll find maybe he's surprised and he's really happy, okay? Not like before, it's a given, he just eats it, right? Maybe he's surprised. Maybe, for example, he'll have different kinds of behavior. He won't only look at the food and eat it, and the consequence will be eating. Maybe he will, I don't know, keep on pressing, right? Because he's so happy that there's food. That may be a possibility. So that's a change of behavior, and also change of consequence. Okay, maybe he'll eat more food, or maybe he'll make sure the consequence of not only eating food but leaving some for later. Okay, because he's not sure that every time the food will go down. You see, so that change of schedule affects the behavior and consequence. Although antecedent is the same, so just pressing the button, okay, or the lever. So do you see how important that is? So you'll find in ABC of behavior, the schedule of what happens right after the antecedent affects the behavior of the mouse and also the consequence. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay?
Pressing, the rat behaves predictably. If the food is released randomly, the rat behaves erratically like an addict. Skinner, born in 1904, was a professor of psychology and subscribed to behaviorism. He argued that you can only study behavior that is visible, and anything happening only within the mind is either a misconception or irrelevant to science. He thought free will was an illusion because behavior is either random or a reaction to the environment.
So Skinner believed that everything is under behaviorism. He was very extreme in it. He's known in psychology that he was very extreme in it, to the degree that anything that happens in the mind or outside of not seeing visually is just random or just a reaction in the environment, okay? Not necessarily there. So whatever is seen and visible, okay, is there. If it's not there, we can't see it, then it's an illusion or just a random reaction out of the environment. So you'll find that Skinner is purely behaviorism. This is important to know when you want to understand his theories, his different experiments, because that's important, okay, in behavior therapy. So you find behaviorism, they're very extreme usually about if it's there, if you can see it, then it's there. If you can't, then it's a kind of reaction or a kind of, illusion in the environment, okay?
His work became the foundation for behavioral therapy, military drills, and animal training. You can try this classroom exercise on positive reinforcement. One individual must exit the room. Now, decide on a task which that individual will complete, such as finding a particular book. Then, choose a nonverbal way of reinforcing that task, such as clapping your hands. Invite the person to come back into the room and let them try and complete the task, but don't give any instructions. Every time they are on the right track in regards to completing the task, clap your hands louder. If they move away from performing the task, reduce your applause or stop it entirely. Once the person understands what they are supposed to do, let them explain the task. Did they get it right?
Okay, so here she's giving an example of how you can use the ABC of behavior to of ABC of behavior for Skinner to the real world. Okay, so maybe you're in school and you have a friend, and you told your friend to do a certain task. Okay, so obviously you need to let the friend, do the task. Okay, and make sure you provide everything that he needs for the task. Okay, and you help him out. And so in that way, he will successfully do the task, right? If he doesn't, if you don't provide the tools, if you don't, encourage him, if you don't help him out, do you think that he'll be comfortable to do the task that you ask him for? No, right? You'll have many problems, okay? Like the lever, for example. If you don't always give the food in the small box every time he presses it, then the mouse will not, will not even maybe sometimes go to the actual place, okay? So the mouse may not even, see there's a small box where you press. Now we said that and the 5 times that the mouse, did not find food, in the last 2 times, it may be by coincidence that he came back and he saw and he pressed the button and the food came down. Okay, so in the same thing here in the task, if you don't help out your friend, if you don't give him the tools, or you don't, kind of tell him how to do the task, if he needs any help, he won't do the task, or he'll get bored, or he'll just go, right? If you help him out, give him the tools and everything, obviously you do the task successfully, and it will be reinforced in the sense of he'll always do it. Okay, so for some people this is common sense, right? But in behavior therapy, this is very important because you'll find it's used for clients, it's used in actually school, in education. You'll find it in many educational psychology theories, okay, and also social psychology. So it helps out in communicating with other people, socializing, and in society, in the psychology world, also in schools, in colleges, and in the learning world, education world. Okay, because obviously this theory is very important because if you don't, give a kind after antecedent of behavior that's positive, then the consequence will not be great. Okay, so any questions? Excellent. Okay. Can you give me an example? So this is the example that we saw in the video. Can you give me your own example of how we can use the ABC behavior theory of Skinner? Think about it, okay? So I was thinking, for example, if I'm in the car, for example, and driving, right? Okay, if the police tells me, and this is the antecedent, you need to park on the right-hand corner. Okay, so if the police does not, help me out afterwards, after giving me the antecedent, if he does not help me out in actually parking, then I'll have a hard time, right? Then every time I will not do it. Okay, maybe sometimes I'll just ignore and go, right? So this is an example, a nice example. So that would be the consequence of the police, right? So for me to park in the right-hand corner, he has to help me out, right? In the sense of maybe there are too many cars, maybe I can't, so he has to help me out. So think about an example. What would be a nice example? So let me listen to to everyone who's here. There's Yusuf Diab, Maram, Muhammad, Alia. Think about it. Okay, so in the end, before we leave, I'll ask you the same question. Okay, great. So this is for Skinner. Now let's go to something important as a definition here for behaviorism. Okay,
On a task
for Skinner, did he believe in behaviorism?
like an addict. Skinner, born in 1904, was a professor of psychology and subscribed to behaviorism.
Okay, did he believe in behaviorism? Ziad, Izzuddin, Mazen, Ahmad. Everyone else, did he believe in behaviorism? What do you think? I want your input on this. So, did he believe in behaviorism? Yes, he did, right? He was extreme on behaviorism. He believed that anything you don't see, it's not there. Okay, it's like maybe coincidence, or maybe it's kind of like a reaction from the environment, but it's not there. You have to see it to be there. Okay, do you agree with that? What do you think? Do you agree that if you cannot see something, then it's not there? Do you agree with it? What do you think? Yeah? Do you think if it's not, if you can't see it, then it's not there? What do you think of that? Okay, can you hear me or no? Yes, if you can hear me, just tell me yes, because the connection is
Yes.
not, okay, good, excellent.
Yes.
So, what do you think? Malak al-Shafi, what do you think of that? So if I can see something, that's the only way that it's there and exists. Okay, that's what Skinner believes. Do you agree with him or no? Now, some people may agree in maybe, yes, maybe in behavior in the sense of psychology, I do agree, but in general, no. But in psychology, yes, or no, I don't agree, because, I believe that maybe, there's a mind, the mind, we don't see what's going on in the mind, but it's there. That's the basis of Freud, that's the basis of Alfred Adler, psychoanalysis, and other theorists, right? So I don't agree that if I don't see it, then it's not there. What do you think, Mara? Okay, so I want you to think about that too. Yes? So behaviorism is basically, it believes that if you don't see it, then it's not there. Okay? So let us right now go into the theory of Skinner. It's called upward conditioning, okay? And basically, it states that increase or decrease in certain behavior by added consequence. So when you add a consequence to a certain behavior, it will increase or decrease the behavior, okay? So for example, a dog takes food from the table. So you have a table and the dog comes in, okay? And he takes food from the table. Can either be rewarded or punished. So you can reward the dog or you can punish the dog, right? So for example, the dog comes in and he takes the food from the table. Okay, you have friends over and he takes food from the table. What will you do? If you have a dog and he takes food from the table for when your friends are here, what would you do? What would you do to the dog? Would you give him the food or would you punish him?
Miss, can you repeat the question?
Yes, so you have friends over and you're eating food on the table, okay? You're eating lunch. Your dog comes in and he takes food. What will you do with the dog? Would you let him to take the food and
Miss,
go?
Nagan, can you see it again?
Okay, can you listen well? Yes, it's kind of hard, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, let me ask the question again. So let me write down the question actually.
Okay.
Okay, and so dog takes food from table, okay? And you have friends, okay? What will you do to the dog? Okay, that's the question. So dog takes food from table and you have friends, what will you do to the dog?
Okay. I would probably shout at him and punish him
Excellent.
so he doesn't do this again. Because if I don't say anything, he'd just do it again and again. So I would punish him. Okay. That's,
Excellent. So you're going to punish him and you're going to shout at him because he would not do it again, right?
yes.
Who is this? This is
Abdullah Safadi.
Abdullah Safadi. Excellent job, Abdullah. Okay, so Abdullah Safadi believes that if the dog does that, what he would do, he would shout at him and punish him. Good job. Okay, what would you think the reaction would be of the dog? Do you think he would do it again? Shout at him?
They might do one more time because I have a dog. They might do it one more time until they just learn to not do it.
Excellent job. Okay, so the dog might do it one more time, but the dog would learn right after one more time or twice that not do it, right? So what Abdullah Safadi is saying here, it's called punishment. Okay, and obviously punishment is known to decrease behavior, right? So if you have like a young sibling at home, and sometimes the young sibling comes by and tries to get maybe your book. Okay, you have a really nice book that you got new from the bookstore, you really liked it, it has really nice pictures in it, he tries to get it from you. Okay, if you punish him, you shout at him, you punish him, obviously this will decrease the behavior of taking things from you and of taking the book. Okay, and so this is called punishment, okay, which would decrease the behavior for Skinner. Yes, so here before the punishment, okay, comes in something really important called reinforcement, okay, which increases or maintains the behavior. What do you think is a reinforcement for the example of the dog? Okay, so you have friends over and the dog comes in. How would you reinforce the dog for him to increase or maintain the behavior to always come in and eat from the table?
Sir, I don't understand.
So punishment here is that you shout, okay, and you make sure the person doesn't do the behavior, right? So the dog comes in and takes the food. You shout at the dog, right? And you punish him for not taking the food, okay? In the sense, the behavior will decrease. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. What is this called?
I'm not sure. I'm just gonna guess.
What is it called?
No,
Excellent. It's called punishment, right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And what does it do? Does it increase or decrease the behavior?
Decrease the behavior.
Excellent job, it decreases the behavior. Do you guys see the slide right in front of you? Right? Do you guys see the PowerPoint presentation or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, so this is the graph here. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes, okay, excellent. So the graph here shows you the reinforcement and punishment, okay? So you have positive and negative. Yes? So here for Abdullah, in the case of Abdullah, he told me he would choose to shout at him and punish him so that he would not do it again. After one time or two times, he wouldn't do it again. So this would be called punishment. Okay, it's the pink section here in the graph. It's under punishment and decreases the behavior. So according to Skinner, you add aversive stimuli, okay, to decrease the behavior. So you add a kind of stimulus that is very shocking, is punishing for the person or for the dog or for whatever behavior this person did. And so in this sense, this decreases the behavior. Reinforcement, okay, is an agree. I want to look at it. So if you want to reinforce the dog, you like the dog to come and eat with you and your friends, what would you do?
Can you see the question again?
Okay, you like the dog to always come and eat with you and your friends. Okay, so you want to reinforce the dog, which means that you want the dog to increase this behavior of eating with your friends on the table and maintain this behavior. What would you do?
I would just put his favorite food on the table.
You would?
I would put his favorite food on the table.
Excellent job. You would put his favorite food on the table, right? That's an excellent
Yes.
example. Okay, so this is an example of reinforcement. So Abdullah in this case would always make sure that his favorite food is on the table. Good job. So this is strategy to reinforce and increase or maintain the behavior of always the dog coming in and eating with you. Okay? Obviously in this case, you want to always increase or maintain a behavior that's productive, right? Okay, that's productive, that is good for you and for everyone in the house, right? So in this sense, obviously, if it's annoying when the dog comes in, you need to do a kind of punishment, right? But if it's nice and you feel, the dog is happy, everyone is happy, then obviously you would reinforce it. Okay, so it depends. This is called positive because you add a stimulus, okay? So for reinforcement, the stimulus here is the nice food of the dog, the favorite food of the dog, okay? For punishment, the stimulus here is shouting or giving a kind of a versus stimulus, a kind of punishment for the dog, okay? So in both cases, you are giving a stimulus, right? Is that clear? Yes? Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. As for the negative, the one under the positive, is removing a stimulus, okay? So imagine you have, you have the dog coming in, okay? And you remove his favorite food from the table. What would the reaction of the dog be? What do you think the reaction of the dog would be?
Can you repeat again?
So you're with your friends and the dog comes in. You put in his favorite food, okay? And then when he comes in to eat it, you remove it.
What is his reaction?
Yes, what would his reaction be?
Confused.
Confused, yes. What? You just put in my favorite, my favorite dish. Why are you taking it out, right? Confused. So it's
Yeah.
would that decrease his behavior or increase it to come to the table?
I guess I'm not sure. I guess decrease or increase.
Excellent.
I'm not sure.
Yes, obviously it does decrease, right? What else? What else would he react? How would he react also?
And he would be sad, confused.
He would be sad, confused.
Because why does it decrease?
Yes. What's your question?
So it's sad, confused, disappointed.
Okay, excellent. Okay, before we move on, excellent job, Abdullah, for your excellent participation today. You get extra credit. And everyone else who participated, good job. Okay, but Abdullah, that was great. I hope everyone else does too. We will have many examples this semester like this one. So your participation and us discussing about the different concepts will really help us understand the concept.